Well, I guess I've got to be the dissenting vote once again. I'm gonna read something only because I want to make sure I have it clear that I have supported in the past and will continue to support any and all efforts to make Wayland a better place for all of us to live, whether it be through the campaign efforts of a Save Our Services or Wayland Voter Network, the Wayland 13,000, or better yet, through our own personal efforts to gather and analyze data and information. This great country of ours gives us the freedom to campaign for the causes we support and to oppose those we disagree with. Looking at the printed meeting agenda for the infamous February 24th meeting, I have some concerns. The invitation had an agenda which specifically addressed the topics of a new high school, tax-neutral debt exclusion, the town center, how the recession and decrease in state affects Wayland, and questions of how Wayland works. I would think that the question of how do we protect our growing aging population to be an important topic to be addressed. A serious problem facing our town, yet apparently no invitation was offered to the chairperson of the Council on Aging to speak to that issue. For your information, according to town clerk records, 62% of Wayland residents are 40 years old, 44% of Wayland residents are 50 years old, and 24% of Wayland residents are 60 years and older. But it was the prerogative of the group to select the agenda and the topics they believe are important for them to discuss. My personal concerns about the meeting, however, was that that I, as one of two senior members of the Board of Selectmen, was never informed of the meeting. The meetings whose invitation specifically addressed the presence of town officials and the presenters as the chairpersons of 4 boards and committees, the vice chair of a committee, an administrator, and a superintendent. Such a large and important such a large and important influential group of publicly elected and appointed officials gathered at a private residence for a private closed-door meeting. Was this legal meeting? Was this meeting appropriate? I'll let you answer those questions. The meeting invitation agenda specifically referenced town officials as being present. The presenters are specifically mentioned by name along with their current position and title. As one member of the 5-member board, I was never advised of such a meeting in which the chairman of my board was asked to participate. I question as to whether the members of other boards being represented were advised of this meeting. From the MMA Handbook of Massachusetts, for Massachusetts Selectmen, the book we were all given when we assumed the role of selectmen, and I quote, "The Board of Selectmen operates as a collective decision-making body. The decisions of the entire board govern, not the desires or decisions of one board member. An individual member of the board may act independently only if authorized by the board." The efforts and services of so many residents of this great community are to be commended. I commend every resident, no matter the political affiliation, for taking the time to care. All I ask is that all work respectively for one another, that we work respectively of one another, and that our elected and appointed officials understand that they are elected and appointed by all the residents of Wayland and are expected to serve the entire population of Wayland and not a select few. That being said, I support Mr. Reese's request and sincerely believe that the same 7 elected and appointed town officials who presented at the 24th private closed SOS meeting make their schedules available to meet with the remaining general public to answer questions they may have of the individuals they elected to office. And this meeting should be held in a large public facility on or before April 5th, 2009, for example, the Field House at Wayland High School. Thank you.
Anybody want to respond to that?
Well, I'll start. First off, I just want, I mean, it's a very good comment, Doug, and you obviously have your opinion of how that meeting was run. But I think that's part of the problem that the town is facing right now, is the type of communication that meeting was. And as we just talked about earlier, there's different types of communication. And that communication was at a private home with citizens that asked certain public officials to attend. You mentioned an agenda. You know, I saw that email. I really didn't look at that as an agenda. It was a bunch of topics that were maybe going to be talked about, or questions that people might be having that they may want to discuss that might be coming up at that meeting, that those officials that were going to be there were going to attend. But I mean, I applaud those individuals, that particular SOS organization, for taking the time and organizing that as just another form of communication for people in the town. People have different schedules. Some people can attend, you know, a State of the Union type address. Some people can't. Some people have to have that smaller group. And I think it was great that those people, some of our town officials actually attended it. If they had invited me, I mean, I would have been thrilled to have go. They just happened to invite Michael to that as a citizen in the town. Just like I'm going to this Boy Scout meeting next week. I mean, I hope you're not offended that you weren't invited to this Boy Scout meeting to discuss what the select board.
I don't know if they're voters, I don't know what their age is.
There will be
but-
parents at that meeting as well.
But
There
I
will be
mean-
parents. But specifically, let me finish. You know, understanding, you know, and addressing what that group's discussions were. You know, it was a private meeting in a private house. I actually had a discussion. I had a discussion with Senator Morrissey, and he's a senator, a state senator out of Quincy. And he said there's nothing wrong with these types of, they do them all the time. You know, have individual meetings. They actually enjoy doing those, and they bring in mayors and school superintendents to hear the opinions of people. Sometimes they don't feel comfortable doing it in an open forum. They feel more comfortable having it in a private forum behind closed doors. And then it was just the other thing that you said, and it really was an appropriate meeting. There was nothing inappropriate about Michael as a selectman going to that meeting and discussing it. I did not feel, and maybe you felt that way, that he was representing the board. He was just discussing his point of what the selectmen's jobs are and what's going on in the town. I don't think, from what I have heard, and I don't think Michael is, I'm sure he would have discussed it if he was representing the board. And I'll let Michael talk about that, but I didn't get the impression that he was representing the board. I got the impression that he was representing himself as a selectman, just like I will be presenting myself at this parent Boy Scout meeting next week of what what are the hot issues in town, what are important right now, and why people should be attending town meeting, why they should be voting on April 7th. So that's my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, but,
I'll just ask for others if they want to.
yeah.